Elgato isn't new to the capture card game, no, far from it. In fact, they were the golden standard for several years with the HD60 S Plus, which I've reviewed on the channel, but if you want to spend a little bit more doge and be able to record directly to an external capture card, no computer necessary, you could pick up the 4K 60 Plus, also reviewed on the channel. Frantically fast forward to the future, and Elgato launched two capture cards together, which I went back and forth. Should I review these separately, together as a pair? They're going to be reviewed as a duo because they were launched together. One's external, one's internal to get socketed in your motherboard. Without further ado, let's bust the biscuits out of these boxes, look at the contents, get them set up, and take a look at some of the gameplay captured on the PS5. Finally, I'll wrap up with my personal thoughts as to which one of these brethren I would pick up personally. Let's get it. Quick disclaimer for my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes, these capture cards were sent for review, but this is going to be an honest, comprehensive review. I haven't been paid or told to say anything about them, so if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, you're going to hear about it, so these companies make better products over time. A quick summary, the bluff bottom line up front, some of the key notable features: pass-through and capture up to 4K 144. That's a big resolution, that's a high frame rate cap. Now this is possible because this device does support HDMI 2.1, which the current generation consoles do, and that is going to allow you to take advantage of the graphical tweaks from the 9th generation, such as VRR, or variable refresh rate, which is going to help eliminate ghosting, stuttering, and tearing. And there's very few capture cards up until now that supported VRR, and none that had all this other shit in combination. So articulate today, all this other feces over here. Let me explain. You do have HDR10 support, and this is going to be on the majority of supported resolution and frame rates. You do also have VRR, as I mentioned, and this is software compatible, so it works with consoles, handhelds, PCs, many other devices, including Mac and iPad. And with the internal capture card, their whole shtick, well, the two shticks here, is one, 8K 60 pass-through and 4K 60 capture. Pretty nuts. But also this blurb, the 4K Pro turns your PC to a dual PC setup. That is because this does the onboard encoding. So technically your second PC, which would be your stream PC, doesn't take the load or the brunt of the load from your gaming, which is on a separate PC called your gaming PC. Completely unnecessary to run a dual PC setup. You can have phenomenal performance on a single PC setup. The marketing here, this chip is going to basically, it's like a whole second PC here, but really what they're saying is it does the encoding for your video capture. Now, if you need an 8K 60 pass-through, which I think is very future proof because 8K gaming isn't even a thing currently, at least not notably or mentionably, as sure as shit not at any 60 frames per second. If and when that becomes a possibility in the world that we live in, this capture card is ready to suck it in.
Suck it in, my friend. Suck it long and deep.
Furthermore, this isn't being compared or reviewed in this video, but the HD60 X is $180, and if you only require the pass-through of 4K 60, but don't mind capturing at 1080 60, this is a cheaper option for you, and it looks pretty much identical to the 4K X, on the outside at least. As for the packaging, Elgato makes it easy to get into your new product, as you do have this little pull tab. You don't need to slice and dice with a knife. The inner boxes appear to be solid navy blue, as opposed to that pattern, that cool little design that used to be on the inner boxes of Elgato capture cards and other goodies. Inside you have a little bit of parchment, and I've got to say I absolutely love Elgato's approach to instruction manuals as of recent, as they just put this quick start guide on the inner flap. They did that with the prompter, which, oh my goodness gracious, is already collecting dust, and I will be doing a review of this bad boy in the near future. I don't hardly ever script my videos, so why the hell would I have a teleprompter? Oh, many a reason, sweetheart. And if you prefer a digital manual so you can pinch and zoom on your phone or tablet, you of course can get one from the website. Now /download, that is going to be for the software suite for all Elgato products, such as their lights, Steam Deck. Now the accessories you need to get up and running with this external capture card are included, and you are going to want to use that HDMI ultra high-speed joint that is included if you want to hit the advertised capture and pass-through resolution and frame rates. Nice little cutout for your fingers. The unit itself feels incredibly light, but it doesn't feel cheap. There's no huge panel gaps where the top and bottom shell meet, and a capture card is one of those things you're just going to set out on your desk. Durability, not really never mind. Durability is key here. Maybe a little bit of rubberized grip on here, or some kind of less porous slick plastic. Okay, it was my fault that I dropped the sucker. It's slick as snot. Very minimalistic ports or plugs back here. You have exactly what you need for a capture card. You are going to get your power and data pass-through through the USB-C. Got to be a high-speed joint, so use the one that's included. Then you have your HDMI in, which is going to be from your console. So the one that we're going to be using for the test in this video is that PS5 over there. HDMI in is going to be from your console, and then HDMI out is going to be to your TV or monitor. Pretty sleek, small design. You do still have a 3.5mm
3mm aux out port in the front, as well as a little status indicator LED. Minimal branding of the model. 4KX. Got your serial and a couple of rubberized non-slip feet on the bottom. And these cords spilled out in kind of a weird way out of the side of this box, a little whoppy jawed. Didn't really think they were in there very nicely, for lack of a better word. Also, these cables do not have a permanent tie back that will stay connected. Just a little bread bag snip and throw, so not the sexiest thing in the world, although the cables themselves do have Elgato branding on both ends and do seem very high quality, not just because they're braided, but they smell good. But one thing to make note of, you only have one HDMI cable and you are going to need two. You're going to use the one that's already plugged from your console to your TV or monitor. That's going to be the little hop, skip, and a jump to get the video out. USB-C port, make sure you use this included cable. If it is not long enough and you need something longer, make sure it is still high speed. These things ain't cheap. These threw me for a little bit of a loop. I thought maybe it had a USB-A port under here and then a C adapter because it had this little line, but that's just the way it's designed. Disregard my last comment about these being in there kind of whoppy jawed and hard to get out. I'm just a Nimrod that actually lifts up from the top in a nice little presentation. Included accessories on the internal card are going to be different than the external. You're going to have less cables, just one HDMI, which technically they don't even need to include this, but it is nice and appreciated. And then your capture card, since this is an internal device, an actual component for your PC that's going to be socketed in the motherboard, it is wrapped in one of these anti-static baggies. And these are super simple to install. You just socket it in a PCI slot and then screw it down in the back of your IO on the back of your tower and you're good. Now, setting up this capture card is going to be freakishly easy for moi because I already have a AverMedia joint over here. Sorry, buddy, you're the old news. The new hotness is over here. And the model we're reviewing from Elgato today does virtually everything, resolution, frame rate, HDR, etc., that this bad boy does, but it has additional features and is cheaper. But I do have a high-speed USB-C as well as the two HDMI ports that I will need right there in the back, so it's just a basic swap for me. And this little chickadees in here, the 4K Pro, is going to be socketed into one of the PCI slots in my motherboard if we peek through this little window right here. Okay, you're seeing nothing but AIO and graphics card. Never mind. Let's come from this angle. Can you, yep, there it is. That's the money. So I have an Elgato capture device in my PC. However, this is the CamLink Pro, which is specifically designed to capture camera input. So whether you have a GoPro, cell phone, photography style camera like a mirrorless or DSLR, have up to 4 high quality professional cameras ran to your PC. But as you can see, or maybe you can't, but there's actually an extra unused, unsocketed PCI slot in there, so I'm gonna use that and have both the CamLink Pro and the 4K Pro, 2 Elgato capture devices socketed in my MOBO or motherboard. The Elgato's placed in its new home, and I've got to say, cosmetically, it looks better than this AverMedia joint. I like black over gray. It's also a little bit sleeker, more compact, and the AverMedia has this bright RGB bar, which for the first couple weeks until there was a firmware patch or update, you couldn't really dim.
With this controller, I'm going to wakey, eggs and bakey, the PS5 over my shoulder, because that's going to be our candidate console for this capture. And I already have a, oh, you can't see here. Now, I recommend setting up a separate scene for your console capture. I have one over here that's titled PlayStation 5. And as you can see, there is no image capturing right now. Is that a problem? No, it's not. I was using my AverMedia card last. We're going to double click it and we are going to change that capture to the Elgato Full K X. Hit OK. Boom. Plug and play. Instantly recognized. Now we are going to test it to make sure we are getting audio out, because no use getting gameplay clips if you don't have audio. Now it's going to ask you to adjust the borders because it's going to predict a new screen size or new resolution because you're running through a capture card. You are also going to have to set up your HDR again. Now do not do this through the preview of OBS. Do this through the actual pass-through on your monitor or TV. Excuse me, I'm going to do it right now. So we are automatically getting audio. How I can tell that is as I browse the menu back and forth, we are getting a visual oh, you can't really see because it's, you know, not on the screen. I can see a visual representation in OBS as I move the D-pad back and forth. I'm getting that little chime or chirp from the console sounds. If you're not getting audio, you are going to see your capture card listed as a separate audio source, and you can adjust the volume here. So you want to balance your voice with your game sounds. That is where you do it. You can even completely mute one or the other, but go ahead and right click, or you can also click on these 3 dibbly dots and come down to advanced audio properties, and where your capture card is going to be listed, it'll say Elgato or capture card, something along those lines. Audio monitoring by default is going to be to off. Select monitor and output, and that will push a sound source out to your clips that you're recording. Another thing I want to show you, I do have the source for the capture card currently hidden because it will actually take over my screen with the PS5's captured image. But with this capture card, which is still labeled as my last card, the AverMedia, all you got to do there is right click and hit rename. We'll just call it the new John capture card, Elgato. Now, if you're not liking the way the image quality is looking right out of the box, you can actually select a resolution and frame rate, or refresh rate, I should say, manually. So double click, make sure you have your capture card selected. If you're getting no image, sometimes clicking deactivate and reactivate again will massage any issues out. In configure video, I would leave all of these default. If one of them's over here or doing something crazy, just click default and then apply. And I did have a manual resolution selected from my AverMedia card, which was 4K of 60, but you can also click device default. And as you can see, it's already instantly giving me an image out of the PlayStation 5. It's awesome. A lot of capture cards, you have to do a lot of con trickery. Elgato has always been plug and play and the most simplistic approach. Absolutely love that. A capture card isn't really something that should be as complicated as a lot of them are. But we are going to leave the capture card in device default and get to capturing some gameplay footage right quick for you. So my friends and comrades with a mixer, maybe you have a Go XLR or some kind of an audio interface and you want to be able to use that fader or slider in order to control your Windows sounds, including your game sound coming out of your console. In order to route your audio like that, go to advanced audio properties and you are going to have monitor off for your capture card. Double click on the capture card and then scroll down to the bottom and you are going to see audio output mode. By default, this is going to be capture audio only. And if you are taking that route, that's when you are going to come in here to the audio mixer and have it monitored and output. But if you want this through a mixer to where you can use the fader or slider on your mixer to control the sound, select direct sound and hit OK. Now with the faders or sliders on my mixer, I can control my game sound. Ooh, I'm in the jungle right now, making it quieter, even controlling my voice, all that fun stuff. I can even balance my music from Spotify or Pandora, and my buddies talking shit in Discord, all on these individual faders or sliders. So we're over here in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, a game I spent 26 hours of my life on, beat the story, did a little bit of the side quest stuff, initially planned on reviewing it, never happened, probably is never going to happen, but it's a pretty fun game. Wait, I did review it. Anywho, this is the out-of-the-box capture just by going with the device defaults, which... let me tell you, are a whole hell of a lot better than what I was getting out of that AverMedia card. That's why I had to manually select the resolution and frame rate that I did in OBS. So this looks pretty good looking at the foliage and everything. By pretty good, I mean really good. I'm not even playing off of the PS5's display. I don't have it on my monitor. I'm just looking at the video preview of OBS and it looks pretty good. But let's go ahead and manually select 4K 60 and see if that increases the video quality at all. So it's really hard to tell. I think it improved the visuals a little bit. This foliage looks a little bit more crisp, but the device default might have been 4K 60 because the difference isn't that substantial. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna not off myself, but I'm just gonna go ahead and dive off this cliff, call my Ikron. Woo!
There you are.
There you are, buddy.
The voice actor for this dude sounds a lot like Miles Morales. Like, a lot. Yeah, this is a good looking video capture.
So I'm a bit of a Nimrod, or I guess it was wishful thinking, hoping that I could use both Elgato cards in there. There is an extra PCI slot in there, but it is completely unusable due to the mammoth size of that 4090. There just isn't any clearance down there. And I definitely choose this Elgato Camlink Pro so I can have 4 camera angles over using the internal capture card, considering I have the external right here, which does virtually the same shit. And this gives me an opportunity to give back to the community and give one of you Stallions or Stallionettes that internal capture card so you can socket it on your motherboard, because I know that you have room. The first Stallion or Stallionette to type Buckaroo down there in the comment section. It doesn't have to be verbatim because nobody knows how to spell Buckaroo. You're gonna get yourself a capture card.
So am I ever so slightly disappointed that I cannot use the internal capture card? Yeah, a little bit, because I was actually going to remove the external from my desk and only use the internal, kind of clear up a little desk space. But luckily that gives me a chance to give back to the community here at GamerHeaven, the first Stallion that, yep, we already did that whole spiel. But what is the difference between the internal and the external? Is it just the fact that one goes inside your computer and one sits out on your desk, but still requires a computer like a laptop or desktop to capture the image? No, there's actually a little bit more. Golly jeepers, something to make note of when you log yourself on to the, well, not log on, when you stop by the Elgato website, elgato.com, they are really pushing and plugging these two capture cards. They are the head honchos on this main banner here. The first thing you get smacked with is the internal and external capture card, as well it should be. These are the latest products from Elgato, and they're also nice. Technically, the prompter just came out too. I'm using it right now,
not really reading off it or anything, but it's, you know, my camera's behind the mirror. Anytime you get a new piece of hardware, a new piece of gear, you got to get the software for it. In order to get that, elgato.com/downloads, and then you're going to see a whole hoopla mess. Don't worry about that. Select your product from this drop down, and they do have it categorized, which is very nice. Capture, 4K X, and the software suite for this particular capture card is 4K Capture Utility, and it is on version 1.7.11. So as we see, I already have this installed. It's only giving me options to repair or remove. I forgot that it was installed on my PC. In order to mess with it, go ahead and hit the Windows key on your keyboard, and then what the fuck? In order to mess with it, go ahead and hit the Windows key on your keyboard and type in 4K. There it is, Capture Utility. Interesting. So I'm here to tell you now, and I'm here to tell you fast, that you actually don't need that program, that software suite at all. It just works as a capture card, plug and play. And that application, I haven't really been able to do any updates to the capture card through that, so I don't really see a point or a purpose to downloading that piece of software. I'm assuming that's where the firmware patches or updates are pushed through, but I'm not seeing a way to do that, so there is 0 point for me recommending you to install this application. Now I'm overlaying a little bit of B-roll from Harris Heller, who I've been watching since he was called Alpha Gaming and not Senpai Gaming. And my man's probably has sore calves because he did a little bit of legwork here coming up with these sick ass tables or charts, which I of course am going to repurpose in my video because they are incredibly valuable for showing you exactly what resolutions, input and output, are supported by both of these capture cards. And when you're looking at those charts, in case the B-roll doesn't show it, the green bars on the chart are going to be SDR only or standard dynamic range, and blue is going to be SDR or high dynamic range. You choose. Do you want that HDR footage? Yeah, hell yeah, you do. But here's my personal recommendation. If you're going to be capturing your console and you are permanently going to be affixed to a PC, then definitely pop for the internal version because it has more supported resolutions and frame rate stops, if you will. A lot of very specific niche middle way points, and you also don't need to have an additional device outside of your PC tower, so it kind of cleans things up. However, having said that, if you like the convenience factor that a capture card usually offers, that plug and playness, and you need to capture multiple consoles, or you go over to your buddies and you want to capture over there, then obviously you're not going to drag your whole PC tower over. It'd be so much easier just to take the capture card and maybe a laptop. So if you're on the go or you're using multiple setups to capture gameplay footage from multiple consoles, then go with the 4K X. But if you are at one static PC that you're always capturing, the 4K Pro makes more sense to me. But also be cognizant of the fact if you have a mammoth graphics card like a 4090, look in your tower first to make sure that you have clearance in the PCI slots. So as for the verdict, I wish it was a little bit more transparent how to update these capture cards. And the software that you're implored to get for the Elgato capture cards is 4K Capture Utility, which I've never seen an option. Maybe I'm just missing it. Somebody please help me out if I'm just missing a little box or drop down. But that's my only real complaint here with these capture cards, is the fact that the software is completely unnecessary, because all the supported resolutions I wanted, I could just manually type into OBS in that little drop down I showed you, and it works. Not really a con, just kind of something worth mentioning. But you don't need to install that software program. I think Elgato absolutely knocked it out of the park. I really do. Yeah, the plastics feel a little bit cheap and they feel light, talking about the external capture card specifically, but you set it on your desk, and as long as you're not dropping it, the most important factor of a capture card is going to be how's the gameplay footage look, and it looks phenomenal. Both of these versions support HDMI 2.1, so the current generation consoles, the Xbox Series S and X and the PlayStation 5, will make full use out of all those current generation features, such as HDR, which these do capture. Both of these capture cards are linked in the description below. One of you Stallions or Stallionettes will be walking away with the internal joint. Drop in the comment section below what you think of these bad boys. I don't know why I said it like that. I was real juiced up. I rarely get excited over something like a capture card. What these are HDR, VRR, higher pass-through and capture than we've seen before. Also not astronomically priced either. They could have really gouged us and twisted the knife, and they didn't. So thank you for leaving our backs unshivved. I'll see you Stallions and Stallionettes tomorrow. Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers, so this information will reach and assist them as well. Much like the back of the TV, I've got plugs for all of my socials down there in the description below. And your wallet will greatly thank you if you check the description, because there are exclusive discounts on a ton of products, including controllers, KontrolFreeks, keyboards, mouse pads, clothes, and energy drinks. And keep in mind that you, the viewer, keep this channel running. The more Stallions and Stallionettes trotting around the stable, the better, so mollywop that subscribe button like it owes you money, and we'll have the same amount of fun tomorrow.